Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is a review of Western Midnight Theater Witch Trial number 5 from Scout Comics. This is the issue that brings the prequel miniseries to a close, where we learn the true nature of Ortensia Thomas's power and how she came to be a magic-based monster hunter, and where the end of her first journey now leads into the main series. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing, and don't forget to hit that bell for notification if you were watching this on YouTube. Your attention and patronage is much appreciated. So let's get into it. This is Midnight Western Theater, Witch Trial number 5, written by Louis Southard. I apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly. Artist is Butch Mappa. Colors by Sean Peacock, and letters are by Buddy Boudin or Boudouin. I apologize again if I'm saying that incorrectly. And the main cover art is by Julianne Grip. So, first impressions, this is a fine way to wrap up the miniseries. We get a lot of deep information and clarity about Ortensia Thomas's powers, why she's so important to the grand scheme of things, and how the end of this journey puts her on the journey that she's experiencing in the main title, which is, if you go back and read our reviews for the main Midnight Western Theater comic, one of the big question marks that never really gets answered is, who is Ortensia Thomas and what she's all about, and why is she powerful or not, and where that all comes into play. This miniseries does a great job of answering that question and gives you an understanding of Hortensia's past and why that informs where she's going in the future. So, if you remember from the last issue, what happened was she confronted Corson after Corson killed her surrogate mother, Sarah, who is a Western witch. And through that whole experience, she encountered the Plague Doctor, and we get a little bit of a flashback from the Plague Doctor and how he basically came from ancient Egypt and has been shepherding all the major aspects of Hortensia's life since the very beginning, because she is part of a vision and a prophecy that he saw way back when in ancient Egypt, and now that her conflict with Corson has sort of come to a head, and she came away from their first conflict pretty badly injured. He's now kind of shepherding her through, but Hortensia decided that enough's enough. I'm tired of being everybody's pawn in some grand scheme where I don't have any control. And through a dark, deep vision, she comes to learn that she's essentially the avatar of the Angel of Death through this cosmic entity known, I believe, as the Fireman, or basically a god of fire. And so what happens is, in this issue, she goes back to get her belongings from the Plague Doctor, now that she's kind of accepted her role as the fireman's avatar on Earth, also known as the Angel of Death. And she says, I'm going to confront Corson. Plague Doctor says, don't do it. This is going to lead to bad things. And she says, look, I'm tired of being a pawn for everybody else, so I'm going to confront Corson. She does that, and she's immediately outmatched. But when Corson basically attacks her and brings her into the spiritual realm to claim her soul, big surprise, Corson finds out that she's actually the avatar of the Fireman, who is a much greater and more powerful entity than Corson. And the Fireman is none too pleased with Corson's activities against his avatar in the physical world on Earth, and that leads to bad things, pretty much for Corson. And so at the end of it, Hortensia now is on her future path with Corson having been dealt with pretty permanently and pretty gory for the comic. For what you see on the preview issues, you don't expect something to be that gory, but yeah, it comes off pretty gory. And so when they get to when she gets to the end of dealing with Corson, then she's left to now pursue her path as sort of an avatar, angel of death, but not really, because she's sort of come into her own and kind of empowered herself to live her life as she sees fit. If you're interested as far as where this title leads into the main title for Midnight Western Theater, it does and it doesn't. It just sort of sets up that this is where she's come from. It doesn't really lead into her future partnership with the vampire and how the two of them go about their day. days and nights and weekends killing monsters. But it's a good way to give you the background on Hortensia and push her forward. So, what did we like about the title? It really establishes Hortensia's character, her motivations. It clarifies all the trauma she's been through, both with Sarah and her father, and also the pressures and the forces that are pushing on her to act a certain way or move in a certain direction, and allows her to elevate her confidence and her ownership of herself to live the life that she sees fit. What didn't we like about this issue? Actually, not much. I thought this was a pretty solid issue. There's a lot of talking, a lot of grandstanding, both from the firemen and from Hortensia, as they confront the people who have either have influenced her life, either in the negative or the positive, but ultimately in a destructive, toxic way, if you want to use that word. But generally speaking, this was a great, solid issue. And if you were very curious about Hortensia from the main title, this miniseries really goes a long way towards filling in that gap and making that story richer and more meaningful, which is what a prequel miniseries should do. So a quick word about the art. As you can see from the preview pages, it's a very interesting style. It may not be, it's not your traditional comic book style, because there's a sort of a straightness to the characters' faces, a sort of straightness to the lines, but I think it fits the Old West vibe pretty well. So if it's not your cup of tea, I would recommend give it a chance, because the story is pretty strong and stands well on its own. But if you're not a fan of the art, I would just say just let it breathe on you a little bit, let it kind of work on you, and I think it'll grow on you eventually. So, final comments. What do we think about Midnight Western Theater Trial, Witch Trial number 5? Solid way to end the miniseries. I think it was just as strong an ending as it started, which is always the goal. And if you want to know more about Ortensia Thomas from the main title, this is a great way to do it. So that's it. Therefore, we're going to give this title, Midnight Western Theater Witch Trial number 5, we're going to give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed this review, but before you leave, please like, share, comment, subscribe to follow Comical Opinions, and we're looking forward to giving you more comic reviews and analysis every single week. Have a great day.